Greetings, fellow Gorehounds, and welcome back to a Blood Splattered vlog. I'm the Horror Guru.
And I'm Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
And he's Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, aka Count Jackula. And today we're going to talk about Cuckoo, the latest film from Neon, directed by Tilman Singer. That's the man's name. He is a German filmmaker. This is his second film, but I have not seen his first film, nor do I know what it's about. But based on this movie, I might seek it out after we do this vlog to check it out, because I really dug this movie.
Yeah.
This movie follows Gretchen, played by Hunter Schafer of Euphoria fame. Gretchen is an American teenager, and she has moved in with her family, her dad, her stepmom, and her stepsister, to Germany. The family has moved into a resort town, and the resort is run by this creepy German guy played by Dan Stevens doing a really funny accent. And ever since they move into this town, weird, unexplainable shit starts happening. And the crux of the movie is Gretchen trying to figure out, A, how to get out of this town, because weird things keep happening that prevent her from doing that.
Yeah.
And also, B, what the hell is happening in the first place? The German guy who runs the town takes a very creepy interest in her.
He's a creeper.
Every time they're in the same room together, he always finds an excuse to touch her. And you could just tell that he has some sort of interest in her that's beyond just, you're a young woman in my presence. Like, there's something else there, and you're not quite sure what it is. And it doesn't help that his accent gives off, like, mad German scientist vibes.
Yeah. He's like on the other side of the spectrum as far as like German stereotypes are concerned from the doctor in Human Centipede.
Yeah.
Like the guy in Human Centipede, he's very mangled. You know, we will do this ass to mouth. This guy's way more like, oh, you know.
But there's just something off about him.
Yeah, real off.
But at the end of the day, that is some of the more normal shit that happens when she moves in. Some of the more abnormal shit is her sister inexplicably starts having seizures and apparently has developed narcolepsy. But is it narcolepsy? The jury's out on that as far as Gretchen's concerned, because other weird things are happening throughout the town. For example, she gets a job at the resort, a cashier at the resort, and some of the customers that are staying at the resort, especially the women, start exhibiting very strange behavior. They'll just randomly wander around like zombies in a daze, throw up on the ground, and seek out like liquids to consume.
Yeah.
And so you're like, what the hell is going on with these women? And also, randomly at night, she'll have these like deja vu moments where like the same scenario will play out 3 times in a row, and by the third time, she seems like she's the only one aware that they just did this.
Yeah, it's one of those like, oh, I'm gonna, wait, didn't I just do this?
And when this happens, like the world around her will like vibrate and like warp.
Yeah, it like shakes and you're like, something weird's going on.
Yeah, something is not right. Like, is she being drugged? Is she having seizures too? What the hell is going on?
Yeah.
The other weirdness that's happening throughout this movie, at night, there's a curfew on the town. And she finds out the hard way why this curfew's in place when she breaks that curfew and decides to ride her bike from the resort she's working at to home. And she's chased by a mysterious woman. It's like if It Follows, they could run.
Yeah.
So on top of everything else happening in this town, there's this real question, who the fuck is the woman chasing people after hours?
Yeah, and why's she doing it?
And why is she doing it, and why does no one do anything about her? Because obviously they must know about her if there's a curfew, right?
Yeah.
There's got to be something to that. And if you want to know the answers to that question, you're going to have to wait for the spoiler section, which we will move to soon. So throughout this movie, you're going to have many theories as to what's going on. Like my working theory for a huge chunk of this movie was some sort of like Stepford Wives scenario. Like they're using like sonic frequencies to like turn women into good little housewives or something.
Yeah, or something.
And that's why it's primarily affecting all the women, and that's why the little sister is having like a seizure because the signals are messing with her brain or something. But no, that's not the answer. I can't give you the answer yet because it's a spoiler.
Yeah.
But trust me when I say where this movie ends up going, I did not predict, I could not have expected, and I've never seen a movie do this particular thing before. Truly original. as they say.
Yeah.
But before we get to the spoiler section, I want to say that I thoroughly enjoyed this weird-ass movie.
It's a really good movie, yeah.
It has a lot of 1970s science fiction thriller vibes. Like, I was thinking movies like The Brood or...
like Blue Sunshine.
Or even like the 70s Invasion of the Body Snatchers. There's even a point where certain characters do certain noises that reminded me a lot of the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, kind of.
Yeah, because like when they're like tripping out and like throwing up and stuff, like they're making these weird noises.
Oh yeah, 100%. And there's also just weird noises throughout, which was what led me to believe that there was some sort of like sonic frequency experimenting going on here, right?
Yeah.
And it had like a retro style, right down to the fact that it was filmed on film. Like actual film. They're not just digitally adding grain to it. Like it's actual 35 millimeter grain, which was kind of nice to see after so many years of watching not only digital films, but digital films with the fake grain. It was cool to see a movie that was just authentically on film. And I really dug how just unabashedly weird this movie is. It doesn't give you all the information up front, and it kind of lets the information trickle down. Not even just about the scenario, but even information about Gretchen herself. Comes out later in the movie that explains some of her behaviors earlier in the movie.
Yeah, like her calling her mom.
Yes.
Very reminiscent of like Don't Look Now.
Yeah. This is one of those movies where the main character is just beaten down by the end of it.
Oh, yeah.
Like every injury they obtain over the course of the movie remains an injury until the very last frame.
Yeah. By the end of this movie, she is bust.
If you've seen that poster where she's got like the bandage on her head and like she's like bleeding and she's got her arm in a sling, every single one of those injuries are individual injuries that happened over the course of this movie.
Yeah.
She wakes up in the hospital a lot. And by the end of it, she's just like fucking limping along, just trying to survive.
Yeah. And for a good portion of it, she's trying to figure out if she's crazy or not.
Yep. Absolutely.
Because nothing that's happening is making sense.
The thing is that the word cuckoo for most of the movie, I thought it was just because she was going crazy. Because we usually refer to people as going
cuckoo. Yeah.
Cuckoo for Cocoa
Puffs.
Right?
Yeah. I was actually pretty sure that they actually were referencing the cuckoo bird.
Which makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's called cuckoo and it's a real bird, so maybe that is. Is it referencing the bird? Is it referencing going crazy? Stay tuned for the spoiler section. I was also really invested in her sudden romance with one of the customers at her resort that she's working at. One of the customers at her resort is this very beautiful looking French woman who she befriends and almost immediately offers her to come move in with her in France.
Yeah, like it's one of those like...
They make out once.
Yeah. In true stereotypical lesbian fashion, they make out once and decide they're going to move in together.
And this is one of the first scenes in the movie where you kind of find out that for whatever reason, this town is not going to let her leave.
Right, because every time she tries to leave the town,
that fucking
something happens.
She'll have that like deja vu moment and then like wake up in a hospital.
Yeah.
Like something happened and it's like, what's going on?
Wait, well, how did I get here?
Exactly. And then she has to like retrace what the fuck just transpired. Anyway, my fellow gorehounds, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. It's not going to be for everyone because it's fucking weird. But if you're the kind of person to tune in to this kind of weird 70s style fucking weirdness, you're gonna like it.
If you're watching our show, you're probably gonna enjoy this movie.
It gave me Cronenberg vibes. Like, there's not a lot of body horror, but just the way Cronenberg structured his movies.
Like The Brood, because there's a huge period of what the fuck is happening.
Cuckoo is currently available in theaters right now. I highly recommend you go check it out in theaters. It is a great theatrical experience. Plus, how often do you get to see a movie actually shot on film in theaters? I recommend you go give that a shot. And with that said, my fellow gorehounds, let us move on to the spoilers.
Right. So, turns out the woman is like a bird monster.
Yeah, it's like a bird human.
Yeah.
And this bird human has characteristics very similar to the cuckoo bird. It has a very particular sonic frequency in which it communicates, which explains the weird noises that she hears at night.
Yeah.
And that happens whenever she's doing that deja vu thing, because this creature can confuse the hell out of someone with its sonic sound. And so every time it does its bird call, you will be caught in this deja vu loop.
Yeah, basically what's happening is that...
Disorients.
It disorients you. Basically, it's doing this frequency in order to induce an epileptic seizure in people that don't normally have epilepsy.
Now, why is it doing this, you may ask? Is it trying to feed on humans? Is this some sort of weird nesting ground for it? Well, yes, it is a nesting ground, but it's not to feed. So, if you don't know, cuckoo birds are known for laying eggs in other birds' nests and allowing other birds to raise their young. And that's exactly what these creatures do. They will cause women, human women, to go into that epileptic fit, and then they will lay their eggs inside.
They will dig their egg out of their vajayjay and insert it into the other woman.
Yes, so that the next baby they have is going to be her baby. The German man is a mad scientist. He is a mad German scientist. He studies them and he preserves them. So the resort is entirely a front to get people to come to this town so that he can impregnate them and expand the species so it doesn't go extinct.
But at the same time, he is also abusing the shit out of them.
Yes. Absolutely. Because he's a bad guy.
Yes.
You might be wondering, so are they trying to impregnate Gretchen, the main character? Not necessarily. See, it turns out that these creatures do not like it when their child is not receiving all of the resources that the family that they are spawned in can muster. Which means if the family has another child that is taking up some of those resources, then that other child must go. So if you're catching my drift, it turns out her stepsister actually is one of these creatures, one of those spawns, and that her stepmom and her dad came to this resort for their honeymoon.
Yeah.
And the reason why they have been essentially summoned back to this without realizing it is so that the mad scientist can take the little sister and return it back to its family.
Yeah.
So the end of this movie essentially has our main character dealing with multiple factions. There is the mad scientist who wants to preserve these creatures, wants to kill her so that she can stop getting in the way of his business. There is this cop that she befriends along the way who helps her figure out a lot of this shit, who turns out to have had his wife give birth to one of these creatures in the past, and one of these bird ladies killed his wife.
Yeah.
So he's been trying to figure out what's going on, what the truth is, why his wife died. He, when he discovers the answers to all this, wants to essentially genocide the bird people.
Yeah, including the main character's stepsister.
Yes. So there's the scientist that wants to preserve the bird people and wants to stop her from taking her sister. There is the cop that wants to genocide the bird people, including her sister. And there is the bird people that want their baby back, her sister, but she wants her sister to stay her sister. So she must protect her sister from all three factions. And there's a point at the end of this movie where they basically end up in a Mexican standoff where they're all in a room, and it's fucking wild.
Did not expect the climax of this movie to be a gunfight.
No.
Yeah.
But the other thing I really like about this movie is I like that once the bird women are revealed to be bird women, they're just allowed to get really monstrous. Her sister's mom at the end is fucking great. By the end of this movie, once all the questions are answered, at that point, it just becomes pure survival.
Yeah, who's gonna live?
She has to figure out a way to get her sister out of this scenario and to neutralize these three threats.
Yeah, while also not sure if she can trust her sister, because her sister is, in fact, one of these creatures.
Yeah, and mind you, by this point in the movie, she's been fucking brutalized. She tried to escape the town with the French girl, only to have the fucking bird lady attack her and cause a car accident, which crashed the car and gave her more injuries. She could barely fucking limp along by the time we're in this Mexican standoff with these other characters.
Yeah.
Basically has to lean herself on one of those mail trays to fucking keep going.
Yeah.
One thing I do appreciate, though, is that this movie ultimately does have a happy ending. So after successfully getting, essentially, the mad scientist and the fucking cop guy to kill each other so that she could escape.
I love that scene because the scene where those two guys finally, like, essentially kill each other. They use the sister, because she has the voice, voice power.
And she uses it on the two of them.
Yeah, while protecting her sister from it.
For the first time.
Yeah, but what I really loved about it is the point in the movie where the subtext screams really loudly.
Yeah.
Because you're like, turns out the problem is patriarchy. And I'm like, well, you made your point.
And from a narrative level, what that scene also communicates is a couple things.
Yeah.
You do have that. Like, the patriarchy is a problem in this movie. Every man in this movie becomes a problem by the end of it.
Yeah.
And that's why at the end, it's two lesbians and a little sister who escape. But beyond that, the thing that scene also communicates is, oh, my sister is one of these things. She does know that something's different about her. And she's still my little sister.
She's still, she wants to be the little sister.
She's protecting me from these two things, using the power that she probably didn't even know she had. So the movie ends with her and the little sister limping out of this goddamn hospital, coming across the lesbian from earlier that she was gonna move to France with, and the two of them get in a car and drive off to France to start their new life.
Yeah.
And my favorite part about this is that the dad and the stepmom are still alive somewhere, and they just fucking ignore them and fuck off without them.
Yeah, it's like, nah, screw this. We're just done.
And I'm fine with that because they were terrible parents. One of the other revelations throughout this movie is that her mom that she's been calling the entire movie, it turns out her mom actually died. Her mom died like a while back and she's been traumatized by it. And it actually paints some scenes earlier in the movie in a different light. When the sister starts having seizures, the doctors tell them this can sometimes happen if there is some sort of like recent tragedy that might have caused her to like get traumatized.
Right.
And the dad immediately blames Gretchen for this. And you're like, why are you blaming Gretchen? What did Gretchen do? Gretchen's not the one that uplifted the whole family and moved them to Germany.
To fucking Germany. Like the worst thing Gretchen is guilty of is being a sullen teenager, you know? Like,
and then you find out that the reason why he was blaming Gretchen is because Gretchen was traumatized by her mom's death, never got over it, and has been depressed by it for a long time. And even though the sister has no idea about the mom's death, she is keenly aware about her sister's depression.
Yeah.
And so they're basically blaming her for being depressed and traumatized.
Yeah. Worst dad ever.
And he didn't even bother to sit down and tell the sister what's going on. How hard would it be to sit down with the little sister and be like, look, you got to understand, your sister's mom died.
Yeah.
So you kind of got to give her some grace, right?
Yeah.
But instead, they try to bury it and hide it. It's fucking ridiculous. Worst dad ever.
Yeah. Why are you letting him touch your daughter? I don't care if he's German. That's weird.
Yeah, he's sitting right there when the guy does that weird touchy-feely thing. And I'm like, if someone did that to my daughter, like...
Yeah, I'd be like,
hey... cut that out, you know? Like,
yeah.
And he does nothing like that. He's just completely ineffectual. And when he's not being ineffectual, he's downright being dismissive of his daughter's legitimate trauma.
Yeah.
And with that said, my fellow Gorehounds, where can they find you, Count Jackula?
Oh, you can find me here on YouTube every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And on Tuesday and Thursday is the video game stream night, which is on Twitch. Just look for me on both these platforms as Count Jackula. You'll find me on Twitch. I'm currently playing Diablo 4 and having a lot of fun just living in Demon World and killing things.
Hell yeah.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah, what about you?
Y'all know me. I'm the Horror Guru. You can find me at the Horror Guru on Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, Facebook, wherever. Just look up the Horror Guru or Blood Splattered Cinema and I'll be there. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so you're notified of my videos immediately upon their upload. And if you'd like to help out either of us more directly, be sure to check out our Patreon pages. And remember, if you decide to go the Patreon route, even $1 a month can go a long way, but we will certainly accept more. If you made it this far into the video, then I want you to comment below, and be sure to comment below using the hashtag Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Use the hashtag Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, that way I know. That way Jack knows. That way the whole world knows that you remember that cereal brand as much as the rest of us do.